What's your favorite scary movie? It's Mike.
And Katie.
It's episode 204.
All about Scream.
This week on Cup of Red. So there we go. That's a podcast. We're good. Peace.
Yeah, I really like the Ghostface voice. Sorry, it just reminded me of that with you asking that. Like, I really like his voice. No, it's like, it's weirdly creepy and calming all at the same time. They did a really good job.
Yeah.
But he's so well spoken, right? I mean, which is so funny considering it's so many different people, but it's just...
Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry, you're listening to a podcast about Scream and you didn't know that? Oh no. Lots of spoilers ahead.
So over the last week, we have dived into the Scream saga, if you might.
Franchise is what it is.
Well, it's a saga.
It's a franchise.
Too. Franchise.
That's what they say.
IP.
Extravaganza?
But yeah,
Extravaganza.
no, but I understand what you say, that, because it's always so...
Ghostface voice?
Yeah, it's so
Yeah, like, I don't know,
it's so calm and
Yeah, the
melodic
last time I was just listening to him, I'm just like... It's like weirdly calming, but it's also super scary. But then I love when he breaks a little bit, and then you start having that anger show up, and then it's like...
Because everything is just so monodrawl right at first. It's like, hello, kitty.
Yeah, it's creepy.
I can see you.
Yeah. So
let's play a game. Right. So yes, we dived into the 6 Scream movies. That's right. 5 on demand and 1 in theaters.
Mm-hmm. It's been quite a Scream-tastic time.
Scream Fest. Even a Stabathon, if you might.
Oh, it was totally a Stabathon. Yes.
So the original Scream came out in 1996.
Okay.
So directed by Wes Craven of, that other knifey guy, famous thing that no one ever saw.
That other knifey guy. I love it.
Of Nightmare on Elm Street fame. And then Kevin
AKA
Williams.
Knifey Guy.
Yeah,
he will now forever be known as Knifey Guy.
Knifey Guy.
Seems like a satire, that's for sure.
And then Kevin Williamson wrote the first one, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. And it told the story of Sidney Prescott. And
family dramas and how they screw you. Sorry. That was the explanation of the plot.
Yeah, totally. You know what? Rewatching,
Boil
so
that down.
I really, because I'd watched a ton of other horror movies, of course, before I ever watched Scream. So as much as Scream wasn't...
Oh, yeah, because all the old classic more. Right?
As much as Scream wasn't like super like edgy and violent and whatnot compared to like some of like the monsters from before it, Scream always held a really special place in my heart because it was one of the first times I'd really gone to theaters for a horror movie.
I was going to say,
because I was like...
Your age, you would have actually been able to watch
because I was...
14?
Yeah. So...
Yeah, 14,
yeah.
So
it was like, going and seeing that, it was like quite the feat, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it always had held that like special place. But the growing up, the realization of how much it really was a satire of the genre itself, right?
I'm continuously impressed by that. So my history, of course, given being younger and not caring about scary movies at all, I didn't see Scream until you introduced it to me.
Yeah.
I honestly remember Scary Movie more than Scream. I also never really cared about Scary Movie, but like to me that was the thing, and like I had no idea about what Scream really was, right? And yes, this time around was still a rewatch for me, but I'm still just thoroughly blown away and impressed on the satire and the commentary that is involved in it, that it's not a dumb movie.
Yeah.
And it just, I love it.
There was many things I noticed with this, like, bazillionth rewatch feel was, there is no nudity and the sex is all off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is a huge thing for it to not have that.
Because they later on, they talk so much about that within the franchise itself, or saga or franchise or whatever you want to call it. And the realization that so many other horror movies, they will dip into having to show tits and sex to feel like almost like, well, we're edgy.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas this, it was still an R-rated film, but it was for the violence. Yeah. Right. And it didn't have actually, there's swearing, but there's not a lot of swearing. So
and
it really was the violence.
The wit aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right. The different aspect.
Right.
And I think too, I'm also impressed on name stars being killed off so quickly. Or people that I see as famous people.
Well, yeah. Drew Barrymore dies in the opening scene.
Yeah. So, and I think that was shocking to me. That, oh yeah, these are cameos of people. Yeah. And I think that's different as well. Right.
So like that is the thing that's kind of cool, especially with the first one, is like you of course don't know, who Ghostface is, and you're trying to piece it together, and they keep giving you little breadcrumbs of who it could or could not be. I like the biggest breadcrumb that is to try to deter you from Billy is the fact that they're using Loomis as a last name. Nod to Loomis in Halloween, but in Halloween, Loomis is the good guy, technically. Yeah. Right? So those little things to steer you kind of away, and it's the constant, who is it? It's like, even though
he definitely plays, like when you watch it again, you're like, this guy is just creepy.
Yeah,
he plays a really good creepy guy. Yeah.
And that idea
so intense,
right? That it's like a murder mystery built into a horror movie. So it's a whodunit as well. So it's kind of cool to have that,
I guess, yeah, because it's not, because yes, you have a monster, but the fact that he is anonymous and you don't know who he is, opposed to, say, Michael Myers. Like Halloween, it's Michael Myers. It's just a matter of he's scary because he's coming after you.
Yeah, Jason Voorhees.
You have Freddy. Freddy is the bad guy. Yeah. Why he's the bad guy. And so it's a different feel, because with Ghostface, it could be anyone. Yeah. And in the franchise, takes on a scary aspect, especially because it turns out to be people that you trust, that you're close to. And that's why I think it has a special place as a type of monsters, because there brings in a lot of the psychological human element to things. It's like the Scooby-Doo of things, right? Like
all monsters are human.
All monsters are human, exactly. Yeah. And so I think that's like really takes it up a notch.
Well, I think that's the thing that's been really cool about the Scream series as a whole, is that it has never dived into the supernatural. Right?
He's there, but it's not coming back from life. He's not held together by some supernatural force.
It's not like, an entity that has now inhabited the mask and it's passing a curse down. Whoever puts a mask on is cursed, or like,
when is Ghostface going to space? Astronaut snaps and becomes Ghostface.
And how can we tie it back to Sydney?
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing that I always I like with doing this rewatch, was that the idea that every killer was human and every killer had motive, even though when they thought they didn't have motive. And it was just,
well, it goes to show how people can find motive out of anything, right? And it's hard for us sometimes to find that motive when we can't understand it, or we've never been through it. But then when it gets explained, you're like, okay, I can see where that came from. I mean, it's a bit extreme, but I can see where it came from. Not motivated by necessarily a need to kill, but it's all revenge. It's all anger, and
One thing that I really do enjoy, especially with the first Scream there, was to see how chaotic Ghostface really is. And that's something you never really see in other slasher films. And I think that's one thing that was really a draw to you, because you've got that flowy, like cheap costume that's just billowing around, and he's just running and he's getting hit and falling and tripping over things. So it is humorous.
It's cartoony, yes.
But at the same time, it it's almost more realistic because he's never really just like walking and showing up. He is always running.
Yeah. And
right?
you try running in a mask and a black costume and see how
but also that idea that he never catches up because he's walking slowly, like say Michael Myers. He's always also, you see him running and moving quickly.
Yeah.
Like he's moving within those kind of things.
It's an Agent of Chaos idea. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it was really cool to rewatch and play out those kind of see those little extra things, like watching more of it all around, right? Mm-hmm. So Scream 1 I think still is the best.
Yeah.
Just for what it brought to the table at the time frame as well. And really still holds up as a pretty good slasher movie. Slasher whodunit, like.
Well, I never felt when we were watching it, we're like, oh wow, this is corny or cheesy any more so than some of the stuff would have been already to be there. It didn't feel incredibly dated or anything like that. It still shocks me. It still has that shock value. Because I'm terrible at it, maybe this time it'll actually stick. I always forget who it is, and then I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, wait, yeah, I think this is what it is. I did figure it out before the end, at least. It stands up.
Yeah, no. So I really did enjoy watching Scream again. So it's still up there in some of the better horror films, I think, especially for that genre itself. Mm-hmm. So we jump only a year ahead.
It only was a year difference?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then we got, and I'll touch on that later too. Like bring that breadcrumb back to
okay.
me. Scream 2. Now Scream 2 takes place at college, right? And Ghostface comes back, right? And it's the anniversary, and he's, doing the killing again. Stabby, stab, stab. But this time you've got a whole new cast of characters. You've only got a couple back, but now you've got a few more famous
people.
And some are just in there even just for cameos, which is hilarious. Like,
we kept seeing, we're like, oh, that person, oh, that person, oh, that person.
Joshua Jackson's in there. You get Sarah Michelle Gellar. Right, she actually died,
which is again the idea that was when she was quite famous at that time, and the fact that she dies relatively early on.
You had Heather Graham, right?
She was the opening one, wasn't she?
Yeah, in the Stab movie.
Oh yes,
with then having Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh yes,
as the death, right?
Yes.
So like
that was quite a different start to it. It almost, so the idea of having, the theater itself having that much going on, it actually gave me anxiety just imagining being in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Alone, just that by itself.
Yeah.
And we think about that, the idea that, we'd be safe in a crowded room. I think you're more at risk in a crowded room and especially in a place of that nature, and it goes to show that then people, it's easier to blend in and not pay attention to people, I forgotten about that rewatching again. I was like, oh shit, this is happening. Like this is the opening scene of people dying.
Yeah.
Because there was so much buildup of their story, and I forget how much you actually have such a quick little snippet of feeling like these characters are going to be there.
Yeah.
Just enough to care when they die, right? And you're like, oh yeah, I don't have to care about that anymore. Damn, that's intense, right? So, and then adding in this element now of these other movies within the movie, it just started this whole like avalanche of like having to pay attention of what in the movie they reference real life and they reference the Stab movies and like back and forth like that.
Well, then it gets even more murky when they get into Scream 3.
Yeah.
When they're actually on the film set for Stab 3.
Right. And it's just so it was well done because it wasn't confusing, but there was a lot to keep track of.
Yeah. So then you've got that, but then you've also have Timothy Elliott, right?
Elephant? Is it
Yeah.
Elefante? Elefante. I don't know.
And then you've got Jerry O'Connell, right? And you like so you, and then you've got other ones that were teen kind of like stars in like big movies around the time too.
Yeah.
So it's like, they made sure to like jam pack it with all these people that have been in like other slashery kind of like horror movies. It's like almost as your red herring of like, who's it gonna be, right? So I thought that was, kind of that build up. This one though, I think still it feels a little long in the end. I know this is Scream 2 is the highest rated critical rating.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. But I always get bored in the big finale with so much of the set pieces.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's
right?
just going on too much, right?
Yeah, it goes from being so streamlined and like they're just like, we're gonna figure this out, and then like that final thing just got so, for me, convoluted. But we find out that who is the Ghostface killer this time?
Billy's mom.
Billy's mom and their buddy Mickey.
And poor Patsy gets called in on things and then used.
Right? Well, it's the same way with Billy and Stu.
Oh, I know. Poor Stu totally got sucked into that.
Like Billy was gonna kill him.
He was just so happy to be there.
Billy was gonna end up
totally
planting it all on Stu and trying to walk away.
Yep.
It's the same thing that his mom was gonna do to Mickey, right? Like
Yep. But my money was on, originally they did a good job of planting in the jaded wannabe boyfriend with the movie buff guy. I can't remember his name now suddenly, but the guy, he ended up dying, right? Because he just seemed so it felt like he was going to be scorned by suddenly Sydney, and it's like an idea.
Oh,
Randy, yeah. I kept wanting to say Randall. I was like, that's not right.
Randy.
So
yeah, I mean,
it gives you ideas all the way around. Yeah, and then I think they did such a good job of hiding her, Mrs. Loomis, that because Sydney never saw her, never had that opportunity. Like, it was definitely a surprise.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Right. So that was the thing that was cool with that one, is like it still was and it goes back to look, it's just a human based on revenge, right? All tied in. It is cool because it's not super, their motives on those aren't super far-fetched, like, which is crazy, right, to think of. Yeah,
being a broken family and having that happen, and then having your son killed no matter what he did would fuck someone up.
By someone's daughter that broke your family.
Yeah.
Right?
So she, you see that and you're like, yeah, I get it.
So okay. It's like, I get it.
It's not to the point where it's okay to kill people, but I'm just saying.
Totally understandable. Totally relatable. So that's what I thought that was, is interesting. That one there, as I say, because that one gets lost on me because it gets a little long, versus some of the kills, say, in the first one. So it does get a little bit muddy. So I always did find it how that was the critical darling of them all, which I was like, but the first one's so good. Like, it's simple, but it's still not a bad sequel. It's a good sequel, which is rare for a horror franchise. Yeah,
it was still interesting. Right? It still kept me interested in wanting to know who it was and what was going on and who could it be. And, it still kept that intrigue. Right? It wasn't as predictable as it could have been, for sure. Yeah. So
it was still directed by Wes Craven, which was pretty awesome to see. Scream 3. So Scream 3, it takes place actually in LA. So it doesn't take place in Woodsboro. Yeah. But it takes place in Woodsboro on set.
You're right. So it's all based around, it's in Hollywood. It's all more of the concept of the movie coming to life and the things that are around that. Huh? Right.
So I'm going to go back to the two, though, I forgot to mention, was the opening scene there where they're in the theater and stuff. I love the commentary on that culture of like the idolization of the horror villain. Yes. Right. And it's like they're just so caught up and they so just want to be part of this whole like thing that they don't even realize what's happening in front of them. Right. Right. And it's it's weird.
It's in itself as a commentary. Right?
Yeah, right. And that's the thing that growing up now and watching them versus watching them when I was a kid, where it was just like, this is fun, cool, stabby, stab, stab.
Mm-hmm.
Watching them again and again and again, and now watching them again more as an adult after not seeing them for a while, like picking it apart more and seeing that there's so many more layers really to it, and the actual commentary that is there between movie culture as well, not just slasher genre, but like the sequel culture, and like the like they clearly laid out for you too, all the rules, and we always laughed at it when we were younger, right? But it's like, but they're following a formula that works, and so it's interesting, right?
Well, and even the commentary of in the story itself about writing the books and making the movies and publicizing a drama and a trauma of someone's life, to what we do. So there's even things outside of that of just how we handle things. Yeah, I agree that especially this time around, I think I found more layers in it myself watching through them. And again, with that the idea of the bad guy and the villain. I mean, I know we have our fair share of villains and everything that we like, but how obsessive people can get to that point. And it just goes to show farther on through the series how many more and more ghost faces there really are. And, and the dangers of idolizing them as well. Right. So Scream 3. Now we're in Hollywood.
So now you're dealing with the whole, like, they're basically murders are happening on the set to mimic murders that happened within the past, but they're also leaving little clues behind.
Yeah, and then we're learning more about Sydney's mom, right?
Finding out that she was an actress in Hollywood before this, and so then we get Patrick Dempsey as the
baby Patrick Dempsey,
the cop. So it's interesting to see like how many like bigger names they had in like the first two, and then this one got scaled.
I was gonna say it was smaller for sure. It wasn't like, oh, that person, that one. It changed from being like the teenage fan movie to a different style. Yeah, it was noticeably different.
And then this one had a gap in years compared to it, because the first one was only a year later, and then
Is that what you talking about? Coming back to that, the idea that no, we're not there yet. Okay,
we're not there at all yet.
Okay,
we got many more movies before then. 2000. So there was a
3-year gap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So bigger gap between them. So
is this the awful hair? It is the awful.
It's your favorite one.
The thing that made me the most upset with this whole movie was Courtney Cox's horrific bangs. I was so angry, like so angry every time she was on screen. I couldn't even focus on anything that was going on because all I could see was her terrible bangs. Who on earth?
These bangs?
Fuck you. Who on earth actually said, you know what? This is going to happen. That looks like someone has to do some, like, you burnt your bangs off because you left it on the curler too long, and we just left it for good. It's so terrible.
Yeah, it is.
It overwhelmed my enjoyment of the movie.
It is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah. So with that, I think this is the weakest of. And I'm going to say it now so you get an idea of what we thought about the latest ones. But this is the weakest still of all the Scream films.
Yeah, I agree. It's
the goofiest. Because even like, because with the addition of characters playing characters, so you've got Parker Posey playing Gale Weathers.
That was really obnoxious.
So like then they had the bickering, and there was just a lot of like collapsing over top of each other, and like there was like silliness to it. That wasn't even like smart humor at all. Yeah, well, it was just goofy. It was just plain goofy. Very, very Scooby-Dooey.
Yes.
Right? Like
you were just waiting for the sound and the like spitting like feet
right
to happen as they ran around. Yeah, I agree.
So
like it was still I like the twist of who Ghostface was. The only solo Ghostface.
Yes.
As they pointed out later on. So kudos on that one.
Or that we knew of. They could bring that back. Actually.
Oh, they could. Who else?
That got, whoever his partner was, maybe got away.
Oh, and then now is coming back for revenge. Fantastic. So at the current moment in time, this only solo Ghostface, and having quite a deep connection with being what Sydney's stepbrother, I guess it would be half brother, and not stepbrother, half brother. But just the forgotten one.
Well, he was the child from her
Hollywood
days. That it was a child not of want.
Yeah,
it was definitely sounded more like it was a forcible.
Yeah, it was it was this is how you get the job deal. So, it was interesting because, as I say, they didn't see that coming. You kept wanting to think it was going to be the cop.
Especially because then he had one more showed up dead. Yeah,
right. And so they did a good job with that, but for overall the movie, it was weak.
And then like you got the breadcrumbs from Dempsey's character having all like the old Hollywood and the movies and things like oh, is it going to be right? So it's like piecing all those
trying to be
together.
Close to a star or something,
right? So the one thing though was there's still a lot of like really good commentary in there, especially on how old Hollywood worked and how they were just supposed to accept it. But this is even still just in, only a few years later. And like they were kind of pointing out some of the problems within Hollywood within a slasher movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so, yeah. But yeah, not the strongest for sure. But like it also changes the first Scream, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you find out that Roman then helped push Billy to do what he did.
True. That is true. Yeah. He set that role in motion, right?
Yeah. So I still rewatching it. It still hit the same points for me where it's like, it's the lowest. Like if it was just the original Scream trilogy, for me, it'd be 1, 2, then 3, just as it's laid out. Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you don't even really need 3. Like I think that thing that's kind of cool is like, for the most part, the 1 stands on its own. And then like, you need to know a bit of to keep going, but like, so
we could do without 3.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not really thrilled enough to watch it again. So it's the weakest link on this journey.
Yeah.
So Scream 4 came out in 2011.
It's quite a jump.
Right. So like, cause they originally had said the Scream trilogy was finished.
Yeah.
It was finished. It was done.
Especially ending on a little bit of a low point too.
Right. It was just sort of like, boom, we're not doing it. And it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like a complete kind of story then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't, you didn't need more.
Yeah.
So then we get, 11 years later.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Wes Craven still direct this one? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Yep. So it was this big to do that, and Kevin Williamson worked on the script as well. Everybody came back,
which is impressive.
Right. So it was the idea.
Courtney Cox's hair was fixed, most importantly.
So then, so it's but this one started out like, cause it was like their first attempt at a reboot almost.
Yeah. Especially given the time frame, right?
Right. But not at the same time, which was interesting. So they started out with like weird meta.
Right? Oh, the movies within the movies and the commentary and the
movie within the movie.
Within the movie.
Right.
Yeah, that was
into
weird.
The people watching, right? Like it was like bop, bop, bop. Right?
Yeah, that was quite funny.
So like it was like back to almost.
They really liked the term meta.
Right? They use that a lot.
You could tell that was the big thing.
But this one did bring it back a bit more to the form of like the first couple with talking within the satirical realm of what it was, right?
It was smarter again about...
Yeah, not so goofy, not so...
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it still was like slightly off, but then like the first... I remember watching it back in the day and it was like, it didn't blow me away. So, as it stands, it would have been Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But watching it again, I found a new appreciation for it, especially and it feels almost before its time. Because when we delve into the killer and the reason why the killer is doing what it is, fits so much more now.
I was gonna say, yeah, it seems like something there's a reason for current times,
right?
Than back then.
Yeah,
before, yes, we did have social media, but
like it really seems like level. It was speaking to like that influencer, like I'll do anything to be famous. Yeah, right.
So he called that one,
and like yeah, right. Like they definitely were like they're on this trend. They're going down this rabbit hole of what they're gonna do, and this is people are gonna try to, because like they have the fact that like they're blogging, they're like direct uplink for the blog of like a TV show, live streaming. Right. There's cameras everywhere. They're recording everything. They're gonna piece it together and make a movie, and like so it's like So I really thought that rewatching it, that stuff clicked more with me now. I was like, the holy crap, like this was.
As we reflect and we're like, shit, he was right.
Right. So this one here, the murderer comes in being that it is her cousin, and she is tired of being basically overshadowed by Sydney. Yeah. Right. And decides to start it up again. So, to see if she can kill Sid to become the true final girl.
I love her commentary though. It doesn't matter what you actually accomplish if you to do something. All you have to do is be like I can't even remember the lines now. But the idea of I just have to make a big enough stink and post it online. Basically, yeah. I don't actually have to do anything helpful. Idea, and it's just like. So true for even now. Right. Like how many years later has it been, and that's still the thing. Yeah. And which is really sad. Sure. Really sad.
Right. Like it's definitely this one here though. With Ghostface was getting a little bit more brutal. Because you had a bit more of like the overkill in the terms of stabbings, right? Which in going forward it becomes more apparent. There's more aggression, right? Yeah. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on it, but that one also then felt like it was done, it was over, right? Because it did kind of feel a bit out of place, but it's still kind of like, it's almost like they wanted to make up for Scream 3. And they had an idea that like, okay, this is going to bookend it. We're going to like, this is going to cap it.
Like, yeah, exactly. Right? Can we bring it back to what it was supposed to be?
Bring it back to Woodsboro, bring it back to, tie it all back in. Like, so, that definitely is the feel for that one. But I do like that one. I think, he plays on the commentary of like, also with, because it was more of one of the few times it was really based on the movies. Yeah. Like, because they were like, we're really into the movies. That's why one of the killers was really part of that whole crew. This brings in the character of Kirby, which comes in later as well. But
I also was, again, surprised who it was. They did a good job. Again, I will still keep saying, though, of giving you those different false feelings of, kind of shady characters or people, that you assume should be more of the problem. And then once you have that reveal, you're like, oh, that totally makes sense. Why didn't I see that coming? Yeah. Because the obvious motivations are easy to spot, and then you start hyper focusing on it. Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
This is interesting because, like, okay,
there's a lot more like taunting almost in this one, though. The much more of the angry human element. To it. Yeah.
Well, they were younger,
especially with exactly. Especially with, let's say, Kirby's whole situation, like with that, like really tearing at heartstrings of trust and friendship, and then really pushing those, and that was intense. Yeah. So,
but yeah, that's kind of. That was one thing too with the third one. They changed Ghostface a bit, and that's maybe why it made it easier for him to work alone. They clone voices.
Yes, you're right. That was high end technology with that one.
So
for sure.
That was a change.
Because that made it be able to move around and just be so many different types of people and really how scary it is that not being able to trust anyone like that, right?
Right.
That's the idea of FaceTime or voice chat or a video chat all the time. It'd be like can't use the voice modulators on that one. Right. Don't worry, someone will figure it out. But
there'll be a filter.
It'll be a filter, an AI filter of projecting all of it, right?
Yep.
So
deep fake.
Yep.
Happening just on your phone. So you're actually someone else having a conversation. You think you're talking to me, but you're actually talking to the killer.
Yeah, one day. Well, I'm sure that's in the works for making it.
So jump ahead, Scream 5. Scream 5 came out in 2022. This is the first Scream to...
It was last year?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When last year?
January.
Huh.
And that's why I was bringing it back, that Scream 6 came out basically a year later, similar to Scream 1 and Scream 2. And we'll get into that later.
Okay.
The parables.
Yeah. And then this, because Scream 5 was the real hard reboot. Right? Yeah.
Still it was the idea of like what they were talking about, like with Star Wars and everything, where you're like, you're rebooting it, but you're still keeping some things familiar, but you're branching off and you're starting to tell your own story. First time Wes Craven did not direct the film because unfortunately he passed not mere months after Scream 4, right?
Yeah.
And this was directed by the guys that did Ready or Not, which I thought was a really fun, most dangerous game kind of movie, right? Well,
that's a perfect human element idea. I mean, it makes perfect sense for them to tackle that concept too, right?
So Scream 5 brings in a new cast of characters, but also makes you feel safe with having a few of the old ones.
Just a little bit.
Right? So you get Dewey, Gale, and Sydney come back. Everything takes place back in Woodsboro, and you find out that the killer is after the Carpenter sisters.
I know you love that idea that they have Loomis and Carpenter in here now.
Yep.
And the Carpenters are even connected to Loomis.
Right? So you find out that the Samantha is Billy Loomis's
illegitimate.
Yeah, love child, which then proves the point that Billy actually was cheating on Sid.
Yeah.
So makes him even more kind of a scumbag.
Yeah.
Even more, like...
Well, he kept pushing on her about having sex, too, so
it's like, it's even more like...
Like the stereotypical teenage boy of like, right? Well, my girlfriend's not putting out, so I guess I go find it elsewhere.
Right? But so there's that aspect, though, of thinking of like... That was never touched on in there. Like Sid they never had that moment of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? Like...
You're like, wait a second.
Right? So this one brought the brutality up a bit. There's a lot more blood almost.
Oh, okay. I did not rewatch this one with him. I'd watched it originally, but I haven't rewatched it recently.
Yeah. So. There was the kills are a lot more brutal. Like they even like the sound and stuff like that. It's more of the right?
Oh,
like,
okay.
It's intensified, right? And where Ghostface of the past was much more like a slash or a precision strike. This was like fucking gut you.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Similar to how it progressed into the 6th.
Oh, okay.
Right? So like it wasn't just one cut or two cuts.
It was overkill.
Was multiple, right? So there's that aggression, right? And that leads you into then seeing where, say, the villains are, right? Because you have you find out that her boyfriend, who plays Dom, says he doesn't really watch horror movies, never seen the stab movies, doesn't really know what's going on. He's actually the one killer, right? And then he's wooed another teenage girl that lives in Stu's old house. and they get together, but she's one of the main ones that's doing a lot of the killing.
Oh, okay.
So she's young. She's the age of Jenna Ortega's character, kind of thing like that.
Oh, so she's really young. Oh, okay.
And trying to prove herself to this guy, right?
So then you have that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I really liked 5. In rating wise, I would go 1, 5, 2, 4, 3.
Okay.
As of that, right? Because I like that they brought it back, and they did this successful job, I think, of doing a rebooted sequel.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember really enjoying it when I watched it.
And, it's brutal because, who do we see die? Dewey dies.
Yeah.
Right? Dewey only makes it to the 5th installment.
Yeah.
Right? And he's the one that called everything in the beginning, and then his duty calls in, and he's gotta step up, and he goes in there, and he ends up dying. One thing I did notice that was really sad actually was that the deputy who now becomes sheriff, she dies, and I think that's a really brutal scene because Ghostface calls her, and she's coming back because she thinks she's going to be killing the son, right? And she's running up the stairs, and he just steps out and just stabs her in the gut, and then right there, daylight. Usually most Ghostface killings are at night.
Yeah.
This was a daylight killing in the middle of the street, basically.
Oh, wow.
And then, so then...
Well, it shows the irrational thoughts of a teenager added to someone who is taking it to the level of killing people.
Yeah.
Not making good choices.
Yeah. But you feel so bad for her son because he's a decent being. And he's I was watching him, he's she was supposed to be picking up sushi or something. He's getting everything all ready. And,
well, it's so sad.
And so you've got, and it was a really well done scene only for the fact that, the camera's tracking, and he'd open up a door, then he'd close it, the music would swell, and nothing was there. It was all these fake outs, and then he goes and he looks out the front door, nothing's there, and he turns around and he gets stabbed in the neck. Oh. Right? It was, those moments where you see those people that die that don't need to die, you feel even more sad for them, or they're not dicks, they're not doing anything wrong, they're just because they're connected
in the wrong place, the wrong time,
right? And so you start they thin out, say from 4 they get rid of the sheriff, which was the deputy in 4, the right, and then they start thinning out the crowd. Now, what is hilarious though about Scream 5 is, and it's we've talked with Star Wars, Scream 5 mirrors Scream 1. Right?
Yeah.
It ends with a murder at a party.
Oh, okay.
Just like Scream 1.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's funny to see that it's that familiar territory. We're taking you on this journey, but we're tweaking it just a bit to make it a little bit different. Yeah. Right? But we're gonna,
and you might not notice it as much unless you were a complete diehard or you watch them so close together. Yeah,
right. And so it's funny to see that. And what's wild is unlike say Star Wars and Force Awakens that gets shit on all the time for that comparison, I haven't actually really seen people shit on Scream for that.
Yeah.
So it shows that how well it was done.
It was done different enough. There wasn't complete absolute parables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this is also something that is different from all the other Scream movies. Jenna Ortega's character is the only opening scene kill to not die.
Yeah, and that's not a kill, big,
right? And to live through the movie, because everyone that gets attacked by Ghostface in the opening scenes dies.
Yeah,
but she gets brutally fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Stabbed through the hand, stabbed in the gut, broken leg, kind of thing. She's it's a brutal scene, and so it's wild to see that she doesn't, right? So yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting. So
How did she get involved? Because she's not Loomis's daughter.
No.
So why does she get involved in things?
They attack her to bring Samantha back to Woodsboro.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay, so they know about who she is.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. So because he wants to make a movie, he wants to.
Because so he idolizes Billy, right?
Yeah, and then you idolize his stab and Ghostface.
So the whole story and all everything that happened. So it's like, why not just see the
and because she's
legacy.
on antipsychotics, he knows that. So his whole point is to basically try to pin it all on her.
So she's already dealing with psychological problems before this happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So she sees Billy, and she's dealing with those kind of things. So So I think that's kind of the key, right?
Yeah.
So
he sees the opportunity there for it.
And then you get to see Sam's break and how much she has the potential to be evil, because when she finally does kill him, she kills him, and it's brutal. Yeah. Like, it is a brutal killing, and it's an overkill killing.
Well, you can tell that difference between that has that rage in there then for her, right?
Right. Like, she doesn't, not only does she stab him in the neck, slit his throat, well,
I'm sure there's anger with
stabs him through the jaw.
Ooh.
Slashes his throat, stabby 22 times, I think they say, and then she shoots him in the head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that her boyfriend though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that crime of passion as well on top of all of it. Like, there's a lot going on there, but that's a lot of overkill there for sure. So
I did quite enjoy, even though it was hokey as all can be, when they go to kill his partner in crime, Nev Campbell, Sydney, and Courtney Cox, because it's hilarious, because you get to see it kind of unfold, and like, they break a bottle of liquor on her, and she falls back, and the stove gets turned on, and then when they shoot her, she lands on the stove and she lights on fire.
Oh, nice.
She's just a screaming ball of human fire running around, and
nice.
So, but you have a lot of the same characters done, because you've got Randy's niece and nephew is in it. And they play those same roles of, like, she plays the role of, like, of Randy, right? So no, I really liked the invigoration they put into that. They
created some good new characters to replace the old ones. The ones that you actually did care about then, and a different take on them, right?
So it was really cool to see all that, and
especially having the main character with Sam be already messed up going into it,
so that gives you your air of, like, what's going on. Like, could she still be my only complaint was how kind of weird and corny seeing Billy in mirrors and stuff, and when he's like, it's a CG version of Skeet Ulrich. Like, he sounds like how he did in Riverdale, and like, it's still kind of old, and like, but like guiding her. Yeah. Right. So that was my biggest complaint. Is it's a little corny. Yeah. And when we go into the next one, my only hope is that maybe it'll pay off. Right. So, but so Scream 5 definitely, I think, was a great franchise Viagra, and brought the slasher back, and it brought it back in a big way. And what I'm surprised is with how successful that one was, that we did not see an onslaught of slashers like when Scream hit originally. We got, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Those all came after Scream with that.
Okay. Urban Legend, like all those like really bad slashers that everyone kind of forgets. Yeah. Came out of that sensation, right? Of like, wait, slashers are big again. Let's try to, right? So Scream 6 comes out a year after. Oh, look. A year after Scream came out, Scream 2 came out.
Parables.
And where did Scream 2...
Parallels.
Where did Scream 2 go, Katie?
It went to New York. Didn't it?
No.
Oh. Where did Scream 2 go?
Yeah. What was the venue?
The college. Yeah, this went to college.
Scream 6 goes to college.
Sorry, yes.
But Scream 6 also goes to New York. Yeah. But
like what? But it's the idea, moving on to it at a different level.
So this is them trying to like move it away. Now,
so are we going to, we're just spoiling things, right?
Well, I guess we could
clarifying.
let's do a quick little
Sure, why not?
5-second. What was your thoughts on Scream 6?
I think you should just give your ranking real quick right now.
Okay, Scream 1, Scream 5, Scream 6, Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3.
I love how you actually have to say Scream as if we're talking about different movies. It's hilarious.
Well,
but that is
what if they didn't? What if it was like Again and Returns? And
I know, right? So there you go.
Never.
There's Mike's mini review of it. You can see the rankings right there. So, a quick little review on it for myself. I really still enjoyed this one. I really liked the story. I liked the character development. Not even having seen 5 again, going in on it, it wasn't difficult to still enjoy it. It took me a little bit. I would recommend watching 5 if you can. It would have helped me pick up on some of those characters again quicker.
Yeah.
But it didn't change, like negatively impact my enjoyment of the movie. So I still really enjoyed it. Kind of analyzing the change in Ghostface over all the different movies. And then looking back at this one through that different lens, like knowing now who the killer was, like you pick up on different things again.
I'm excited to watch this one. Like,
I'm happy with it.
Just because I put it behind Scream 5 doesn't, like, they're almost on the same level.
Well, I don't think it's like not like massive drop, right? But
like, because like I really did like the direction where this one.
I think you just like 5 just because that's still no different than 1.
Yeah.
That original kickoff of this new little chapter, right? So.
Yeah. That being said, this one is more brutal. This is more brutal than 5.
Yeah.
But it was weird.
I feel like there was less kills in this one.
But the kills were more brutal.
Yeah.
The kills were more
So there's
brutal.
less of a body count, but more violent in each act of an attack.
Yeah.
Because I feel
the body count was really low in this one.
Yeah, the body count's really low. And that was one thing I noticed. But
that's what you were sad about.
I was super sad.
You were just like,
no,
fuck those kids.
I wasn't sad. I was surprised.
Right? You know what? I think also too my expectations went up a little bit higher because I'd seen just like headline reviews of like the goriest Scream yet, like the most, and I was like, okay. And then you are right. There wasn't a lot of kills, right? So which was pretty wild to have that streamlined aspect.
Yeah.
This is the first Scream without Sydney. The first Scream without Dewey because he died. Yeah. Sydney was not in the film because she decided not to come to New York, which makes complete sense.
It does, and it doesn't feel like it was a missing factor at all.
No. It would have felt really weird.
I think, it would have felt forced.
Yeah.
So, but
coming back to Woodsboro makes sense, right?
Yes, but to New York, it wouldn't make any sense. So.
But the real reason was contract disputes over money. So then they had to change the characters around, which feels like they did a pretty damn good job in rewrites by bringing Kirby's character back. So, yeah. So
are we going to stop on the spoilers now, or are we going to...
Well, there wasn't really any spoilers yet.
Okay. I guess, yeah.
Now it's spoiler time.
Kirby's not really a spoiler.
She's in the trailer.
Yeah, so there you go.
Spoiler time.
If you're leaving, thanks for joining us. But if you're staying, spoiler time.
You need to get some hammer pants and just back and forth. Spoiler time.
That should happen.
Oh, hey. Can we rewrite Hammer Time?
If we had videos, yes.
If we can rewrite Hammer Time to be spoiler time?
You can do that. Miss Prime, are you up for it?
Spoiler time. The first kill was brutal.
Yes.
The first kill was brutal. That was aggression to the max.
It was so well done. Again, I had to remind myself, I'm learning a lot about this person. You're gonna be caring. And then you start feeling uncomfortable and you're like, I don't think you should be doing what you're doing right now. I don't think okay, fine, you went outside. Do you not realize that he's trying to lure you outside? And then I was trying to be like, okay, if I was in that situation, would I do the same thing? You don't automatically think the worst of people, but at some level,
Well,
just going
we
out,
as the audience, because we know it's a Scream movie,
right?
we know.
And that's the thing is like I'm trying to think. Okay, so if I didn't, I know that something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But if I was her, would I still feel that same apprehension or the same spidey sense going on? Going outside the restaurant, fine. That's one thing, right?
Walking down the alley.
But then like walking and then when she started walking down the alley, I just wanted to fucking yell at her. Where you're like, stop, woman. What on earth do you think
Bitch,
you're
you don't
doing?
walk down that alley?
Like, I just, I was just screaming inside. I was just like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, fine, go outside. But no, you are not. What?
Yeah.
I was.
So
that being said, she did not deserve to be killed so brutally, but.
So this Scream also did something different for its opening kill, similar to Scream 5, where the first attack lives. This one here, we get the kill. You're like, oh, we're back to formula. Sweet. Awesome.
And then he
takes off his mask. And
I was like,
And it was like right at the bat, I was like, are we actually is this gonna be the time that we get to see the journey of Ghostface from his point of view almost?
Yeah, not being a whodunit thing.
Yeah, right? Because everyone has been a whodunit. So
that was trippy.
That was a switch.
But then I was wondering, okay, well, maybe is it going to be a group of people? So one of them, we don't know the others. Or,
Will it be the cult of Ghostface?
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah. Only to have him die.
By Ghostface. And his buddy that was also going to be a Ghostface is hacked up. And where is he? In the fridge. That was really cool.
Right?
That was really cool. When he said hot and warm, and I was like, oh, fuck, he's in the fridge, isn't he?
Right?
I was like, yeah, this is definitely not his friend.
Literally, there's one of two options that could have happened. Ghostface could have been in the fridge and popped out like a little leprechaun and been like, shanky shank shank. Or, there's buddies in there dead. Like...
I know. And I had a moment, I'm like, yeah, most likely his buddy's dead.
Yeah.
Because I thought about that too. I was like, is he going to jump out of the fridge?
Yeah.
It'd be like a really dumb hiding place, but still funny.
But pretty awesome.
Does a cell phone reception go out of a fridge?
We could just call No,
we can't get in the fridge.
We could call the fridge. We could put in the phone and call the fridge.
And see if it rings?
Yeah.
I know what we're doing after this.
Science. That's right, kids. Go out there and have yourself an experiment. Put your telephone inside the fridge, turn on the volume, and call it. See if you can... And if it works, then we know you can hide in the fridge.
The more you know.
But yes, then we get that. That's like that's a twist moment, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're back to square one. You're like, you thought you knew who was the killer, but now you don't know who's the killer.
We have like 2 kills, 3 kills, really.
Yeah.
Like really close
in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, but now we have a different Ghostface that seems more vengeful to saying what they did was wrong.
Well, and I thought it was interesting, because they knew so much about this, and yet they seemed so judgmental about what the kid was doing.
Yeah.
And I liked the old mask. That was cool looking too. It was really creepy.
Yeah.
It definitely made it look more like an authentic Ghostface rather than the costumes, because the costumes were rampant in this movie. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, that they seemed to know everything, and it was just like, no, you're stepping on my territory, and that, it was a interesting character development.
Yeah.
Right. So
you have...
So Sam's dealing with the world thinking that she was the killer.
The original killer, yeah.
The original one. So she's just lambasted all the time.
And this is what's kind of cool, is it's showing how social media works. And you don't have to be right. You just have to be the loudest.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and they make that commentary in there, how easy it is to just spread that rumor and start something and be like, people will believe anything. If it makes them feel justified or angry or easier to deal with. The easiest option for anger seems to be the thing we'll believe. Yeah. Right?
So. And that's the world that we're kind of living in, right?
Yeah.
And it's just wild to see, right?
Yeah.
So we get that. This Ghostface, and this is what we learned, though, when we're thinking back of it. So what? I'm trying to think of like with the bodega scene. and what your real revelation.
Well, we were talking about, we've already in spoiler territory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't want to recount the whole movie. So, spoiler territory, knowing, can we just jump right to it?
Yeah.
Just rip off that Band-Aid, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
just go right.
Looking back at, we talked earlier about the idea of Ghostface being chaotic and moving around. And when we were watching this movie, in the bodega scene, I was thinking, I was like, Ghostface seems so controlled and
comfortable with a gun.
Yes, very methodical. The way they're moving is very controlled, very calm, and as you say, with the gun, they're different than the other ones we had seen.
Yeah.
And I had noticed that, didn't see a reason as to why. When you realize and you learn that was most likely Bailey, the cop, in that version of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about that and you're like, well, it makes sense for a cop to be methodical and slow and calm in a situation like that. So it's showing that reflection. And when we analyze it and think about all these ghost faces and the way they reacted with their kills, where they moved around, it is a reflection of the person there. So they did make Ghostface different to fit the character, the person underneath it still. And I really like that. And because at first I was like, well, this is weird, because we talked about how much we liked that it was chaotic.
Yeah.
But I like this even more, realizing that it is different.
You see that controlledness even when he is shaking the ladder too, right? He's toying with them. Yeah,
he's determined. He's not silly at all. He's just but then some of those movements then later on in different versions of them, you see a little bit more flightiness. You see that kind of flail about because they're children.
Yeah.
So it's I really like that, and I can really appreciate that they made that version of them dependent on the person they envisioned was under the mask. Yeah. Because we don't know at what point who was under which mask, until the very end when they just are all there.
Yeah. So I really like you get your killer being that the boyfriend from 5, his father and siblings have basically
for revenge. Oh, and look, father killing someone who wanting to take revenge on their killed
we're tying it back to 2, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting, right?
But bigger and better because now you've added family members to it too.
Right? So there was technically 3 Ghostface in this film. So, which is pretty wild. So it'd be interesting to watch again and see how.
Well, they did a really good job of making you feel like Kirby was the one, and it made sense for her, having the ability to snap. And even when they got there to the theater, and she said, "I cleared the place fine, and I'm the one that's going to hold on to the gun and all this," I'm like, "Ooh, this makes me uncomfortable." Yeah. And then with him calling the Atlanta field office, he seems so legit in everything he was saying. And so when he revealed himself, I was thoroughly shocked. Yeah. Thoroughly surprised. Yeah. They kept telling us that it was going to be that boy, the random roommate. Yeah. But I felt like it was too forced and too obvious. And I'm like, stop being such a bitch to him, because you're going to make him into the killer. Yeah. And then of course with Quinn, that was the giant, bait, because they killed her. Yeah. And, swapping things out. So like, I was thoroughly shocked. Yeah.
No, it was a good reveal, like for sure. Like, the idea that it's all pieced together in that form.
And so, again, not having watched 5 and then watching this one with Sam, when she does go and kill, that was brutal. And the overkill was there too, right? And it was in your face, and it was loud, and it was like incredibly efficient for someone, and that was impressive. And so you can still see that haunting that she has.
That's that idea that I believe that her kills are so much more violent, and that definitely makes things scarier, right?
Well, she had commented in therapy that she felt. She said it felt right. Yeah, and you can take that in a couple different ways. There's a difference between saying it felt good. Right could just mean right as in a justified. But at the same time, there's a difference between I felt the need to do this and I was protecting myself, and this felt like the right thing to do. And it definitely is like, yeah, some things you're still not quite right.
Right.
And you're probably going to be, obviously you were already unstable and fighting demons before, but it's just going to be worse and worse now. So,
Richie, I kept not thinking of his name.
the boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's why he was just the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richie. Yeah.
That was, I really liked the museum of all the ghost faces.
That was a cool thing to have.
It was a cool reflection.
Yeah.
Almost.
As a reminder, right?
Like if you hadn't watched the, 1 to 4, and a little bit, of course, 5 still, but of like key moments and like, remember.
Right. Well, it also gives you a lot of like that feeling of, it's a remembrance.
Well, even when the cops, that's why we learned about the idea of the reminder that Roman was this only solo one.
Yeah, right.
Was because they went through all the killers and they did this awesome recap that didn't feel forced.
No.
It felt like it was completely natural part of it. And I'm like, oh, this is really awesome, Right.
So now the big question is Roman actually by himself, or will they bring in?
I like that. But yeah, so I did. Not like I was wanting more people to die, but I was surprised. I'm surprised Gail survived.
Yeah,
I'm actually a little irritated.
Sad but maybe this will be the key if they do move forward with the 7th to have her bow out.
Maybe it's gonna force
because
her
like she almost died.
Yeah, it finally almost took her.
Like this was the closest Gail's been to death.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, like
yeah.
Out of all her times where this one was.
So yeah, that was the only thing that was kind of irritating me. Like, okay, they finally are going to get this. Because either she needed to overcome it and be the badass, or I was like, okay, well, she got stabbed. I guess this is the end of it. Okay, fine, we'll just deal with this. And so then the fact that she did live was surprising, and the fact that core 4 still managed to live. Like, it was devastating when Chad got stabbed, though. I was so sad. Like, that would have...
He's becoming the human pushpin, though.
Yeah, I'm really happy
because I thought he had died. He died. It looked like he had died in the first one. So
there's the supernatural element.
So he's like... he's
got so much scar tissue in his body now. He's going to have problems
with
that.
Dewey.
Yeah.
He's become Dewey.
Yeah,
the knife went into the old scar tissue. He's okay.
Right.
Wait, what?
Yeah, is
that a thing?
So he should die 2 more movies?
Honestly, I think they should end it in the 7th.
Yeah.
I think it should come full circle because I think if they keep pushing it, it's going to get back into like goofy territory. They already run the risk of a 3rd in this whole requel.
Yeah, they need to just skip to the concept of 4 rather than
skip to the good part.
Chad will die. Okay, in the next one.
It needs to be an all-out bloodbath.
Everyone should die. Okay.
So
they need to just kill the bloodlines.
That's what I'm saying.
Point, yeah.
Like I think
kill the connection points.
So if we're following, now we're in like speculation territory. If we're following kind of mirroring of things, right? And if you decide to end it on 7, you have those 2 routes of mirroring of basically family being the killer.
Yeah.
Because both 3 and 4 deal with family being the killer. What is one thing that I'm not saying that Sam has to be the killer, but what is one thing that Sam has that is in common with 3 is that she is a half sibling.
True.
Right?
So you could still have a half sibling cause problems.
Right? But on the other hand, would we then look to her sister because her sister's dealing with, she's been stabbed so many times and her trauma, and she actually looked like she enjoyed it when she killed the kid. Yeah. When she saved her life. Yeah. To save her life, right? Yeah. So my big question is like,
so is it Sam, the idea then, she looks like she's going to be the killer, right? But
yeah.
She's not.
Is she not? But is she going to die to end, that whole
connection with
connection. Her. What you do with the 7th is you also flip the script. Because like both the 5 and 6 have also had unusual beginnings for their first kills. Something that's never happened in a Scream movie is a male dying.
That is true. So
you killed Chad right in the opening scene.
That would be intense.
to red herring away from Jenna Ortega's character because they're in a romance.
How could she possibly have killed him?
Kill the man that she's in love with.
Yeah. I mean, that would be sad, but
that would be a difference, a change of pace.
You're right.
Right? And also throw you off that snake trail to... Right?
Back to the subway scene.
Yep.
That was very
That was the
unnerving.
best scene in the movie.
So good with all the different characters around and all the questioning about what was happening. And it really threw you off from the kid because he was standing right there.
Yep.
Really creepily calm sociopath. So like really well done.
Yeah.
And really, again, proof that terrible things happen in public places, large crowded public places, because no one pays attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then learning that, Bailey was the one that told them to travel in public. And of course, then that's where they would have gone. And it was easier to get around there. So,
yeah, there was a lot of good in this one here because it really did. It was an enjoyable movie. Like, it was an enjoyable horror movie. Like, I had a good time.
Yeah.
Watching it. It was, well paced.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it again. Just to be able to then look back knowing and find those
Extra
Easter eggs that are there and the little breadcrumbs, right? And being like, oh yeah, like with the bodega, the way they move, and see if you can try to figure out who is which Ghostface at which time, right?
Yeah. Figure those spots out. So there is going to be a 7th. They've said, because this one had hit so hard, and it also is high rated. It's higher rated than 5. It's closer to the first and second.
Nice. That's cool.
And it scored really big at the box office this last weekend here. So they're like moving forward. So curiosity is, will it come out in a year and do something different?
Or will it take 3 years?
Or if it'll take 3 years to come out?
Yeah, I doubt that, but
probably not.
But
because they're going to want to bank on the ability of those kids to still be there. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I honestly, I still think that they should go into the realm that it either the Loomis blood is going to just take over, and this trauma from these events is going to take Sam.
Yeah. And
she's going to be the killer, or her sister's going to become the killer, and it's just going to end with them like stabbing each other.
Yeah, all out bloodbath.
Yeah. Or they're both the killer.
Oh.
There's your two killers.
We haven't had that either yet.
They're both the killers, but they don't know they're the killers.
Goodness gracious.
That would be a twist.
No, it would be.
You'd be completely,
Yeah.
So, but yes.
Scream franchise, man.
It was a good time, actually.
They named it a franchise in 6, so that's why.
I really enjoyed watching. They also called it a saga in 6.
Okay. We'll go over
part of the saga. So
yeah.
No, I really enjoyed this series. Like it's as much as it had a couple of low points, it's actually a very solid.
I had a lot of fun watching
because it's not overly gross to watch, and there's that something too. There is no like nudity. Yeah. There is no actual sex.
Yeah.
There's like before and after, but like
and as it
so it's just the violence.
It's
really.
not. It wasn't so dramatic that it was kind of boring. Yeah. It wasn't. There was still humor into it as well. Like, it was a really good series. That was really fun to rewatch it. So,
yeah. So the Scream Saga. If you like it, go forth and
enjoy
the
stabbies. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
And a fun little Easter egg. Jesse and I are doing trivia tomorrow, Wednesday, and I'm going to drop a hint. It's 1993. And remember, stay rad, dudes.